Chapter 5307. When the crowd heard Bai Li Yin-che's merciless ridicule toward Xiao So, their eyes were filled with astonishment. Even though both parties were rivals, these words were rather delightful. Even though Xiao So's current status was not simple and there were many cultivators who were chasing after her, everyone was still rather unhappy regardless of whether it was out of jealousy or disdain. However, it was not appropriate for them to say such things out loud. Now that someone had said it, they naturally felt relieved. "Who are you?" Xiao So calmed down. At the very least, she had to find out who these two fellows were. Since they had dared to speak to her in such a manner, their identities were probably not simple. However, Linger only stared coldly at Xiao So and did not even have the slightest interest in speaking. Speaking another word to this kind of person would be a waste of time. Seeing this, Xiao So's face turned even more ashen. Jun Lingxuan noticed that Xiao So was about to lose control of her anger, so he turned towards Jiang Wenyan and asked, "Young Master Jiang, are these two your friends?" Jiang Wenyan looked at Ling Er. This was the first time they had met, and he did not know if they could be considered friends. Just then, Xiao Zhongliang walked towards Xiao So's side and said, "Eldest lady, these two are from the Bailey family." Bailey family? Xiao So was slightly stunned. She then looked at Bai Li Yin-che and Jun Lingxuan with a complicated look in her eyes, and her expression turned even gloomier. "You're from the Bailey family?" She had long heard about Bailey Hongzhuang becoming the head of the Bailey family. She had initially been suspicious of this because it was simply too baffling. However, looking at their attitudes now, she began to believe it. If it were not for her relationship with Bailey Hongzhuang, these two would never have dared to treat her with such an attitude. "Do you think you're so great just because Bailey Hongzhuang is the head of your family? Speaking so arrogantly, do you really think no one can teach you a lesson?" Xiao So immediately unleashed the power within her body. If the other party had not been a member of the Bailey family, perhaps she would not have done so. However, when she thought of Bailey Hongzhuang, she felt a strong urge to kill these two fellows. Bailey Hongzhuang had made her sullen for so long, so she had to make Bailey Hongzhuang unhappy. "Miss Xiao, you're really impressive." A cold and mocking voice rang in everyone's ears. Then, everyone saw Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching slowly walking into the encirclement. Previously, they had been staying in the corner, and the commotion here was too big, so many people didn't notice them. Now that the two of them had appeared, everyone's expression became more and more interesting. "Isn't this young Master D and his wife? I didn't think that they would be here too. Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road." This is going to be a good show. Xiao So's words were obviously directed at Bailey Hongzhuang. Xiao So was shocked when she saw Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching's sudden appearance. She never thought that the two of them would appear so coincidentally. Could it be that these two fellows have been here for a long time and have been hiding to watch the show? Thinking back to what she had just said, her expression became a bit awkward. "I'm the head of the Bailey family. If Miss Xiao has any problems, please direct them to me." Chapter 5308. Jun Lingxuan was a little surprised when he saw Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching. Previously, they had not heard that the Bailey family had arrived in the Piercing Wind City. Xiao So straightened her expression and eased the awkwardness from before. "Bailey Hongzhuang, you're here. If we didn't come, I'm afraid that eldest Miss Xiao would target the Bailey family." Bailey Hongzhuang's exquisite and beautiful face was filled with a cold smile. She did not intend to change the topic just like that. Xiao So's eyes flashed slightly. She had never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would be in the vicinity. The words she had said previously were too targeted, and she did not know how to smooth things over since the other party refused to let go. Miss Bailey So had only said those words because she was too angry. You don't have to take it to heart. Jun Lingxuan immediately tried to smooth things over. Although they were already on opposite sides, it would not be good if the matter was blown out of proportion in such an unreasonable situation. "I think that eldest Miss Zhao's words do not seem to be joking." Elder sister, Bai Li Yin-che and Linger walked over to Bailey Hongzhuang's side when they saw her. Hearing how Bai Li Yin-che addressed her, the crowd was slightly stunned. Then they looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's beauty and suddenly felt that it was normal for Bai Li Yin-che to be so heaven-defying. This Bailey Hongzhuang brother and sister's looks are really devilish. I want to ask if they have any other siblings in their family. The boy is really handsome and the girl is beautiful. These are nothing. In my opinion, Di Beichin and Bailey Hongzhuang's child will be the real devilish one in the future. Once these words were spoken, the crowd's eyes lit up. With Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichin's devilish looks, their child will definitely be outstanding. Who knows how devilish that child will be? Xiao So saw that Bailey Hongzhuang was not going to let it go, and her face turned gloomy. She was already very unhappy with Bailey Hongzhuang, and this girl kept on provoking her. How could she not be angry? Bailey Hongzhuang, you're deliberately looking for trouble. Her cold voice was mixed with anger and questioning. Ever since she met Bailey Hongzhuang, she knew that this girl was a wolf in sheep's clothing. You've wronged us. Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. You should be clear about the ins and outs of the matter. It was your Xiao family that was in the wrong first. In front of so many people saw it clearly. Now you want to blame it on us? Isn't that too much of sophistry? Even if you want to find a reason, you should find one that makes sense. Di Beichin calmly added a stab, making Xiao So speechless. Xiao So's face was full of anger. This matter was not like what Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Hongzhuang had said. However, she was not in the right from the beginning. In addition, these two people were good at talking, so the more she said, the more unreasonable she was. Such a person can actually become a deacon of the Radiant Sacred Assembly. I've long heard that the Xiao family can cover the sky with one hand in the Radiant Sacred Assembly. Now I believe it. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head and sighed. She looked so regretful that it was as if the Xiao family was trash. My sister is the Saint of Light. The Radiant Sacred Assembly naturally listens to my sister. What can you do? Chapter 5309. Following Xiao Sudong's words, the expressions of everyone present changed. Although they understood that this was indeed the case, Xiao Sudong had said it so bluntly. This showed that he had no respect for the president of the Holy Assembly. Jun Lingxuan could not help but frown when he heard this. It was fine for them to say such things in private, but to say it in front of so many people, it would not sound good if word got out. He could not help but look at Xiao So. At a time like this, it would be best for him to restrain himself. However, Xiao So did not care about this at all. She was the holy maiden of the holy light. Although in theory her position was slightly inferior to the president's, in reality, even the president could not do anything to her. She wanted to let Bailey Hongzhuang know that her status was no longer ordinary. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang had become the head of the Bailey family, her influence could not be compared to hers. She was now someone that Bailey Hongzhuang could not reach. You don't have to say such things to provoke me. Now, in the Holy Assembly, my influence is not something you can imagine. My position is not something that you can influence with just a few words. Xiao So's lips curled into a complacent smile. She stared straight at her, as if to say, "What can you do to me? Then I hope you can sit firmly on this seat. If something happens midway and you fail to successfully sit on it, wouldn't that be a waste of your current arrogance?" Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. Compared to her usual faint smile, her smile at this moment was particularly seductive. It carried a sense of bewitchment and threat, causing Xiao So to feel uncomfortable for no reason. She felt as if something bad was about to happen. Isn't that obvious? Xiao Sudong rolled his eyes. My elder sister was already the successor of the Holy Maiden of the Holy Maiden many years ago. Who else can shake her position? Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged and did not say a word. Let Xiao So be proud of herself for a while. The more proud she was now, the uglier she would be when she fell. That's hard to say, considering the way you guys do things that don't distinguish between public and private matters, Di Beichin said lightly. As soon as he said this, Xiao Sudong and Xiao So's faces turned ashen. Jiang Wenyan, however, chuckled and looked at Di Beichin playfully, giving him a thumbs up. Brother Di, you really know how to hit the nail on the head when you speak. Great minds think alike. Xiao Sou could no longer control the anger in her heart when she saw the two of them mocking her in front of her. Don't talk nonsense here. It's not up to you to criticize me. You're thinking too much. We're not interested in judging you. Di Beichen's eyes darkened. What kind of explanation are you going to give us about Xiao Zhengliang flirting with Ling Er? Explanation? Xiao Sou frowned. Jun Lingxuan took a step forward, his eyes full of disdain. Why should we give you an explanation? Brother-in-law, there's no need to be polite to this kind of guy. Just do it. Bali Yanchei's eyes were as cold as knives. Based on his character, he would have crippled all these guys. You're right. Di Beichen nodded slightly. Since you insist, then we can only see who's the real deal. Chapter 53:10. As Di Beichen and the others took their positions, the surrounding cultivators could not help but take 2 steps back and give them some space. The light in their eyes grew even more fervent. This was going to be a good show. Brother D, do you mind if I join in? The corners of Jiang Wenyin's lips curled into a bright smile. His deep gaze turned towards Di Beichen. Seeing this, Di Beichen's lips curled into a smile, and he tilted his head. Of course. Jiang Wenyin chuckled and immediately stood next to Di Beichen. From a moment he had chosen to stand on the same side as Di Beichen and the others, he had already thought about the situation he would face today. Other methods would not be able to make the other party truly believe him. The only way was to let the other party see his sincerity. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze softened. If she had been a little suspicious before, she now believed Jiang Wenyin. They had always been very friendly towards their friends. Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Sou looked at each other. They could not believe that Jiang Wenyin would actually make such a choice. Logically speaking, this matter had nothing to do with Jiang Wenyin at all. Putting aside the fact that this fellow had gotten himself involved, by the looks of the situation, he was going to declare war on them together with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. What on earth was going on? Since when did young Master Jiang and young Master Di have such a good relationship? I've never heard of it before, but the fact that young Master Jiang is willing to stand out a time like this shows that their relationship is close enough. The Xiao family's influence is clearly greater now. I really don't understand why he would make such a choice. The crowd looked at each other. As the young master, Jiang Wenyin's actions did not only represent himself, but the entire family. This was a major piece of news. The atmosphere suddenly became tense. A battle was about to break out. Even though this was the Xiao family's territory, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were not afraid at all. However, at this moment, a dignified female voice rang out. So, what's going on? Hearing this voice, Xiao Sou's eyes instantly lit up. Before she could turn around, Tong Yinshu's figure had already appeared in her line of sight. Master. Tong Yinshu slowly walked to Xiao Sou's side. She looked at Xiao Zhengliang, who was still bleeding from the corner of his mouth, and then looked at Di Beichen and the others who were about to make a move. Her expression turned cold, and there was a hint of anger. Seiwu, are they bullying you? Xiao Sou shook her head and whispered into Tong Yinshu's ear. After hearing how Xiao Sou addressed her, Bailey Hongzhuang knew that this woman should be the vice president of the Holy Light Assembly, Tong Yinshu. This Tong Yinshu was clearly a beauty. Time seemed to have treated her exceptionally well, not leaving many traces on her face. On the contrary, she exuded the unique charm of a mature woman, very attractive. Looks like the rumors are true. Tong Yinshu is indeed extremely protective of Xiao Sou. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly said. Jiang Wenyin spoke up as well. Tong Yinshu has remained unmarried all these years and practically treats Xiao Sou as her own daughter. She's not just a little protective of her. Over the years, in order to help Xiao Sou successfully ascend to this position, who knows how much effort she has put in. Di Beichen nodded gently and his gaze deepened. If Hongzhuang were to become the holy maiden of the Holy Light, this Tong Yinshu would definitely be a problem. Chapter 53:11. Xiao Zhengliang could not help but gulp when he felt those sharp gazes. He lowered his head guiltily, not daring to meet their gazes. He understood that when he returned today, he would not be able to avoid being punished no matter what. I already understand the situation. The reason why you're not letting this go is because you feel that we have not punished Xiao Zhengliang. You can rest assured that since he has done such a thing, we will definitely punish him. Tong Yunshu stepped forward. Her calm voice was extremely calm, but it was as if she was announcing a verdict, not allowing anyone to refuse. Seeing Tong Yunshu's imposing manner, Bailey Hongzhuang rolled her eyes. Like master, like disciple, these two style of doing things was very similar. Vice President Tong, if you take him away like this, how would we know if he has not been punished? Bali Yanshei's voice was cold. He did not believe that this guy would receive any serious punishment after being taken away. It was obvious that they were just doing it half-heartedly. If I say he will be punished, then he will be punished. Do you think I would lie to you? Tong Yunshu's face was ashen. These juniors dared to question her words like this. That's hard to say. Ling Er said indifferently. Jiang Wenyin also spoke up. Could it be that your Radiant Sacred Assembly is supporting this kind of person to be a deacon? That's just too unreasonable. Then what do you want to do? Tong Yunshu's eyes were filled with haze. Her cold appearance was filled with anger, but she still suppressed it. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. It's very simple. As long as we remove this guy from his position as a deacon, this matter will end here. Originally, she wanted to help Shi Hongqiao take back his position as a deacon, but she thought that she would only be able to do so after she had obtained the position of Holy Maiden. She never thought that Xiao Zhengliang would offend them of his own accord. Naturally, she had to grab this opportunity. If Shi Hongqiao was supported back to his original position before this, then it would be much easier for him to deal with this matter. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiao Sou and Tong Yunshu's expressions changed. They had done everything they could to find a reason to support Xiao Zhengliang to this position. He had only been a deacon for a few days. If he lost his position, wouldn't they become a joke? Xiao Zhengliang's face was also pale. He had fought for this position with great difficulty. It was a very lucrative position. Not only did he have money, but he also had power. Ever since he became a deacon, his position was very different from before. If he was kicked out of his position, then he would not accept it. Impossible. Xiao Sou refused without hesitation. Tong Yunshu also spoke up. This is a matter of our Radiant Sacred Assembly. There's no need for you to worry about it. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone sighed. I knew that Xiao Zhengliang was able to become a deacon because of shady dealings. Now it seems obvious. To be two, Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was cold. According to Vice President Tong's words, you're planning to leave without doing anything? What else do you want? Tong Yunshu also recognized Bailey Hongzhuang. It was Bailey Hongzhuang who had caused Xiao Sou to be unable to eat or sleep well these days. Naturally, her attitude was not good. Let's go. It's not that easy to leave. Chapter 53:12. You can't leave without paying a price for laying a hand on one of our people. The next moment, under Tong Yunshu's shocked gaze, Di Beichen's figure suddenly moved. He swept past Tong Yunshu at lightning speed and landed a kick on Xiao Zhengliang's body. Thump! A clean kick with an incomparably tyrannical force sent Xiao Zhengliang flying, not giving him any face at all. Tong Yunshu, Xiao Sou, and the others never thought that Di Beichen would suddenly make such a move. By the time they had reacted, it was already too late. They could only watch as Xiao Zhengliang was beaten to the point of spitting out blood. How dare you? Tong Yunshu rebuked angrily. Her face was flushed red, and her eyes were burning with rage. How dare you attack a deacon of the Radiant Sacred Assembly? How should you be punished? However, Di Beichen ignored her. Since you won't take care of him, I'll have to do it myself. He had noticed Xiao Zhengliang's dispirited look from the corner of his eye and knew that this fellow would have to stay home and rest for a while. He then turned towards Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Let's go. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a small smile. Di Beichen's kick had been very satisfying. Ling Er, who had been extremely unhappy, felt much better after witnessing this scene. After all, she had not suffered any losses. She felt particularly relieved when she saw the ugly looks on Tong Yunshu's and the others' faces. "Stop right there," Tong Yunshu called out to Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. "Vice President Tong, is there anything else? You dared to injure a deacon of the Radiant Sacred Assembly. How can you leave just like that? If you don't give an explanation, everyone will be able to step all over the Radiant Sacred Assembly's head," Tong Yunshu roared. First, they had ignored her and then severely injured Xiao Zhengliang in front of her. This was a slap to the Radiant Sacred Assembly's face. "Aren't you insulting the Holy Light Assembly by letting this kind of trash be a deacon?" Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. "Bailey Hongzhuang, don't talk nonsense here." Xiao Sou pointed at her angrily. "You attacked a member of my Xiao family and even ignored the vice president of the Holy Light Assembly. How dare you? Men, take them down." During this period of time, many people from both the Xiao clan and the Radiant Sacred Assembly had come. They had completely surrounded this place. Bewitching suddenly laughed when he saw that the other party was about to gang up on him. "It seems that we have to get ready to stretch our muscles. I've been wanting to exercise for a long time," Bali Yin-che said. "I thought that the Holy Light Assembly would be as straightforward as its name. Now it seems like it's a joke." Ling Er mocked. She didn't have a good impression of the Radiant Holy Assembly. Not to mention Ling Er, even the onlookers had the same feeling. Their impression of the Radiant Sacred Assembly was greatly reduced. Previously, they didn't think that the Radiant Sacred Assembly was so sinister. However, now that Xiao Sou had become the Holy Maiden of the Radiant Sacred Assembly, if any light attribute cultivator dared to offend the Xiao clan in the future, they would be done for. "Vice President Tong, is this how you usually handle things when I'm not around?" A low voice that was mixed with anger sounded out. It carried boundless dignity and caused the atmosphere at the scene to freeze. Seeing the person who had come, the originally arrogant Tong Yunshu's expression changed. President, why are you here?" Chapter 53:13. Bailey Hongzhuang also looked at the person who had arrived. As expected, it was the president of the Radiant Sacred Assembly, Lu Hongwei. She had seen Lu Hongwei at the pill refining competition in Water Splendor City, but she had only seen him from afar. She did not know much about his temperament. However, according to Shi Hongqiao, Lu Hongwei was an extremely responsible president. He was just like Tong Yunshu, and he was a fair person who only cared about the Radiant Sacred Assembly. I wonder if the president of the Radiant Sacred Assembly is also a snake in the rat's nest? Bali Yin-che frowned. He had planned to stretch his muscles, but he did not expect such a person to appear. He did not know which side this person was on. "Am I not allowed to come?" Lu Hongwei looked at Tong Yunshu indifferently. His gaze was calm, but it gave off a sense of scrutiny. Even though Tong Yunshu was the vice president, she was still very respectful to Lu Hongwei. This was because Lu Hongwei was number one in terms of strength, status, and influence in the Radiant Sacred Assembly. No one could shake him. "President, things are not as you see them. You can listen to my explanation." Tong Yunshu quickly organized her words, thinking about how she could smooth things over in her mind. Her actions just now had probably made the president very unhappy. She knew that the president valued the reputation of the Radiant Sacred Assembly the most. Her actions just now had undoubtedly affected the image of the Radiant Sacred Assembly. "There's no need." Lu Hongwei raised his hand and interrupted Tong Yunshu. "I've seen the whole situation with my own eyes. I'm very disappointed in how you've handled it." Xiao Sou's body trembled. Clearly, this included her. This matter was originally very simple. Deacon Xiao should be punished for her mistake, but you only know how to protect her. Is the name of the Radiant Sacred Assembly something you can use to commit outrages? Lu Hongwei's loud voice showed his anger. He had never thought that he would trust Tong Yunshu so much, and that Tong Yunshu would handle things like this when he was not around. Now that she was like this, it could be seen that the situation was not very good when he was not around. Thinking of this, He was simply exasperated at the fact that he had failed to meet his expectations. "President, we wouldn't dare," Tong Yunshu hurriedly said. She had never seen the president so angry in the past few years. It seemed that she was really angry this time. "Don't dare? I think that's exactly what you did." Lu Hongwei's gaze landed on Xiao Zhengliang. Nothing can be accomplished without rules. Since Xiao Zhengliang has done something that goes against the image of a deacon of the Sacred Assembly, he naturally cannot continue to stay in the Sacred Assembly. From now on, you're no longer a member of the Sacred Assembly, and you're not allowed to enter the Sacred Assembly in the future. As Lu Hongwei's voice fell, Xiao Zhengliang's body trembled, and his face turned pale. It wasn't easy for him to reach this step, but in less than 2 days, this position was gone just like that. Most importantly, he was not allowed to enter the Holy Assembly in the future. This meant that he had no hope of returning to his position. Furthermore, as a cultivator of the light attribute, not being able to enter the Sacred Assembly meant that he would lose a lot of resources. It would be almost impossible for him to make any progress in his cultivation in the future. Such punishment was something he couldn't endure at all. Chapter 53:14. Hearing the president's decision, Xiao Sou's expression turned extremely ugly. Xiao Zhengliang's talent in the light attribute was pretty good, and it was because of this that they had supported him to this position. Who would have thought that because of today's matter, all their previous efforts would be in vain? Xiao Sou looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with resentment. Most importantly, Bailey Hongzhuang had gotten her way, and this was what she couldn't tolerate the most. After settling everything, Lu Hongwei looked at Di Beichen and the others. "Young Master Di, are you satisfied with this punishment of mine?" Di Beichen cupped his hands. "Many thanks to the president." Unlike his disdain for Tong Yunshu, Di Beichen was much more respectful towards Lu Hongwei. It was obvious that the two of them weren't on the same level. Li Hongwei was an elder worthy of their respect. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others also bowed. With Tong Yunshu as a comparison, Lu Hongwei was undoubtedly much more impartial. Xiao Zhengliang offended this lady earlier, and I hope you can forgive him. Lu Hongwei had a kind smile on his face. In the future, when our Radiant Sacred Assembly selects talents, we will definitely pay more attention to character. If there are any problems, I welcome everyone to point them out. As Lu Hongwei's voice fell, everyone's opinion changed. President Lu is indeed just and impartial as always. Fortunately, the Radiant Sacred Assembly has him as the leader. Otherwise, it would have been destroyed by Tong Yunshu and Xiao Sou sooner or later. Isn't that right? With President Lu overseeing things, light attribute cultivators without any background have a place. Otherwise, they would really be out of luck. The surrounding discussions weren't soft, and each sentence fell into the ears of Xiao Sou and the others, causing their expressions to turn even uglier. Wasn't this a slap in the face? Previously, when they were doing things, everyone was complaining, but now that the president had stepped forward, everyone's words changed. In contrast, they seemed even more unbearably sinister. "Guild leader, they're only here to cause trouble because they have a personal grudge against me." Xiao Sou felt a little indignant. It was still fine when they were in the Immortal Cloud mystic realm, but now that they were in her territory, if she were to let Bailey Hongzhuang gain the upper hand, wouldn't she be inferior to Bailey Hongzhuang in the future? As the next Holy Maiden of Light, your personal grudges have affected the image of the Sacred Assembly. You should reflect on it. Lu Hongwei didn't give Xiao Sou a chance to refute at all. His plain words left her speechless. Facing such a Lu Hongwei, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others felt a little guilty. In fact, they knew in their hearts that their actions were indeed a little unreasonable. After all, ousting Xiao Zhengliang from his position was beneficial to all of them. It was precisely because of this that they admired President Lu's magnanimity even more. With Lu Hongwei's appearance, this matter was completely resolved. Xiao Sou and Tong Yunshu both left with Lu Hongwei. It was likely that they wouldn't be able to avoid some punishment when they returned to the Sacred Assembly. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others didn't continue to stay in the underground market. After experiencing such a commotion, they had already become the focus of attention. There was no way for them to stroll around properly if they stayed, so they left first. Who would have thought that Miss Ling and Sir Yin-che are both members of the Bailey family? What a coincidence. Chapter 53:15. Ling and Yin-che have always stayed in the clan and rarely come out, so it's not strange that Sir Jiang hasn't seen them before. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Ling really didn't appear in front of others much. Bai Shi often appeared, but not in his current form. However, if others didn't ask about this, she didn't intend to say much. After all, although there were contract beasts that transformed into human forms, there weren't many of them. It was inevitable that it would cause a commotion. I see. Jiang Wenyan understood. Otherwise, with your looks, anyone who has seen you wouldn't be able to forget you. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze turned slightly towards Ling and Yin-che. Just as Jiang Wenyan said, a demon beast's human form always had a unique charm that was unforgettable. Of course, not all demon beasts could be so devilishly beautiful after transforming. It was said that many beasts would appear particularly boorish after transforming into human form. For example, Yin-che and Yin-che were probably like this because of their racial advantage. In addition, they were very good-looking in their beast form. Speaking of which, it's quite interesting. I just realized that the people around Brother D all appear in pairs. You and Madam appeared together hand in hand, and so did Sirwin from before. Now, Sir Yin-che and Ling are the same. You really make others envious. Jiang Wenyan shook his head and sighed. However, after hearing this, Ling and Bai Yin-che couldn't help but look at each other in disbelief. I'm a pair with him? Ling pointed at herself, completely unable to accept this. How is that possible? Bai Yin-che was also speechless. What do you mean? After hearing Bai Yin-che's words, Ling eyes flashed with anger. Did this guy think that it was embarrassing to be called a pair with her? Although she felt the same way, what right did Bai Yin-che have to despise her? Whatever you mean, I mean it, Bai Yin-che said calmly. This isn't the first time you've done this. Ling glared at Bai Yin-che fiercely. It was the same when they were in the Bailey family. Bai Yin-che shrugged his shoulders. Looking at Linger's furious expression, he was also a little confused. He only felt that everything he said was very normal. All right, stop bickering. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at in front of young Lord Jiang? Bailey Hongzhuang hurriedly tried to smooth things over. It was fine if the two of them bickered normally, but it was a little awkward for them to do so in front of others. Hearing this, Linger and Bai Yin-che finally calmed down. So, I misunderstood. Jiang Wenyan smiled warmly. It's all my fault. The two of them are always like this. Brother Jiang, don't mind them. Bewitching's eyes flashed slightly. He didn't miss Jiang Wenyan's expression. It seemed that Jiang Wenyan was indeed interested in Ling. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said such probing words. Obviously, his previous words were to test the relationship between Linger and Bai Yin-che. The result made him very happy. I feel that we are really fated. I hope that we can become true friends. Jiang Wenyan straightened his expression and looked seriously at Bewitching. Brother Jiang, we have been friends for a long time. Bewitching smiled faintly. From the moment Jiang Wenyan stood on their side, they were already true friends. Chapter 53:16. Looking at this scene, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes also showed a smile. After coming to the upper realm, they had made very few friends. Although their relationship with the Murong family was excellent, that was because Di Xiaofeng and Murong Jing were good friends. They didn't have many friends by themselves, so they were very happy to be friends with Jiang Wenyan. Of course, this was only what Bailey Hongzhuang and the others thought. In fact, many people wanted to make friends with them after seeing their strength and their frankness with their friends. It was just that they didn't have the right opportunity. Jiang Wenyan didn't stay for long. When he found out that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were planning to go to other places, he took the lead and left. It seems that we can rely on Ling to sell her body to attract allies in the future. This is much more efficient than using conventional methods. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and teased. Although Jiang Wenyin didn't say much, it was obvious that he was interested in Ling. Even when he said that they wanted to make friends, his gaze quietly fell on Ling. Actually, Yinshe isn't bad either. Deep Beichan raised his eyebrows. Just now, I heard many women say that they wanted to bear his children. Ha! Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but laugh. That's right. When the time comes, we'll see which forces young miss is beneficial to us and let Yinshe seduce her. It'll be 100% successful. Sister, Bailey Yinshe looked helplessly at Bailey Hongzhuang. She actually used this kind of thing to tease him. Ling also looked at Bailey Hongzhuang speechlessly. You're dreaming. That's not it. Bailey Hongzhuang winked proudly. Previously, we weren't sure about Jiang Wenyin's attitude, but after today's events, we can completely relax. Based on Jiang Wenyin's feelings for Linger, he wouldn't do anything to harm them. Although she had previously felt that Jiang Wenyin wanted to befriend them out of sincerity, with this layer of relationship, this alliance had become even more stable. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Linger was speechless. I think you guys are overthinking it. That's not it. Bailey Yinshe also said Jiang Wenyin's performance was very obvious. Luckily, I haven't transformed into a human yet. Xiaobai cannot help but sigh. Otherwise, she would have been used as bait by her master. Leave this kind of mission to me in the future. Xiao Xuanzi's face was full of excitement. I don't understand why Yinshe is dissatisfied with such a good thing. So many beauties want to bear your children. If it were someone else, they would be overjoyed. With that, Xiao Xuanzi sighed again. Unfortunately, I still have some time before I can transform into a human. Seeing Xiao Xuanzi pretending to be sad, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could not help but be amused. Xiao Xuanzi, that still depends on how you look when the time comes. If you're not good-looking, then there's no chance. Xiao He laughed. Look at my master's looks. How can I not be good-looking? Xiao Xuanzi puffed out his chest and gestured for everyone to look at Di Beichan. That's not necessarily true. Xiao He exposed him mercilessly. The looks of the master and the contracted beast are not absolutely related. The male master is good-looking, but you might not be. Just wait and see. When the time comes, I definitely won't be bad. Xiao Xuanzi was full of confidence in himself. Then from now on, I'll leave this kind of mission to sell one's looks to you, Xiao Bai said solemnly. Chapter 53:17. Speaking of which, I'm a little curious. Why did you all buy purple clothes today? Xiao He looked curiously at Bailey Yinshe and Ling. No wonder Jiang Wenyin thought that you two were a couple. You really do look alike. Then you'll have to ask Ling. Bailey Yinshe looked at Ling. I've always been wearing purple clothes. When he first transformed into his human form, Bailey Hongzhuang gave him purple clothes. During this period of time, he had fallen in love with this color. Hearing this, everyone's gaze turned to Ling. Ling had always been wearing Bailey Hongzhuang's clothes, so she had more white clothes. I just happened to see that this dress looked good, so I bought it. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others only smiled and didn't say anything. This was really a coincidence. Sister, why did you guys also happen to come to the underground market? Bailey Yinshe then went back to the topic. When he came out earlier, he didn't hear that Bailey Hongzhuang was also coming out. Otherwise, they could have left together. We originally planned to go to the Inscription Association to take a look, but we happened to pass by the underground market, so we thought of taking a look. These days, the most lively place is the underground market. Almost everyone comes to take a look. I didn't expect to meet you guys there. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. If it wasn't for the underground market being so attractive, they wouldn't have met Xiao Se Wu and Xiao Si Wu there, and they wouldn't have had such a harvest. No wonder. Bailey Yinshe immediately understood. In my opinion, since Xiao Sou is so arrogant, it's fortunate that the position of the Holy Maiden will be yours. Otherwise, the Holy Assembly will really be in a mess. Following Bailey Yinshe's words, Linger also nodded in agreement. Indeed, that vice chairman is also a disgusting person. Fortunately, Chairman Liu is not bad. We made Xiao So suffer today, so I'm sure she hates us to the core. She must be thinking of ways to make us unhappy. Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged her shoulders. Xiao So was not a generous person. She still remembered clearly the venomous look in her eyes today. She really hated them to the bone. You dare to touch my wife? Let her try. Di Beichan raised his eyebrows and smiled. Even though the piercing Wind City is the Shao family's territory, if she can't find a suitable reason to make a move, it would be useless. Most importantly, she and Jun Lingxuan together can't beat us, Bali Yanche said calmly. If it wasn't for someone who came to save the situation, he would have beaten them up until their parents couldn't recognize them. It wasn't easy for Xiao So to support Xiao Zhengliang. Now, Xiao Zhengliang has completely lost all hope. Bailey Hongzhuang turned to look at Di Beichun. Beichun, since Xiao Zhengliang has lost his position, do you think Deacon Shi's position will be restored? That would depend on the internal arrangements of the Holy Assembly. I wonder what kind of name the Shao family used to take away Deacon Shi's position. Di Beichun pondered. Since Chairman Liu is here, perhaps the situation will change. I hope so. I believe in Deacon Shi's ability. The group chatted as they walked slowly to the Inscription Masters Association. The building of the Inscription Masters Association was also very grand. The symbol on top was a complicated inscription pattern, which gave off a mysterious aura. Chapter 53:18. The inscription technique of the upper realm is indeed much stronger than the lower realm. She could tell just by looking at the inscription pattern. When she was in the lower realm, she had also learned about other inscriptionists. However, although they were inscriptionists, their level of inscription was obviously not high enough. My wife has always wanted to study inscription technique. Now that we are here, it's not bad to have a chance to understand it. Di Beichen's lips curled up. His wife was extremely talented in this aspect. Inscription technique was also very useful for cultivators. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Actually, you can also understand more about array formation. Di Beichen's array formation was learned from He Xinjun. There is no need to mention the strength of the Dark Holy Sun. The array formation that he grasped was also not something that ordinary people could compare with. However, Di Beichun had not come into contact with other array formation masters. If he could understand more, it would be of some help. Hearing this, Di Beichun smiled and said, "That's right. I'll ask around later if there's an array formation master association here." Ever since he understood the power of array formations, he was very interested in array formations. If he could master array formations, it would be of great use in many situations. When the four of them walked into the Inscription Master Association, they found that the spacious hall was already filled with people. Most of the cultivators here wanted to inscribe their weapons. If a weapon had a good inscription pattern, its effect in battle would be greatly increased. It was not easy to increase one's strength. However, one only needed an inscription pattern to increase one's combat strength. This was naturally something that everyone was willing to do. Although the price of drawing an inscription pattern was not cheap, the price to ask a master to help inscribe, it was even higher. Even so, there was still an endless stream of people coming to the Inscription Master Association. This Inscription Master Association is really lively. Linger noticed the dense crowd in front of her and couldn't help but sigh. The Inscription Master Association's liveliness is second only to the Alchemist Association. Any place that is helpful for cultivators to increase their strength is very lively. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled as she looked around. Many people were obviously familiar with this place. There were a few windows that were specially used to receive cultivators who wanted to ask for inscriptions. As long as they paid the corresponding price, they would be able to perform inscriptions. However, it seemed to be very difficult to get an inscription from an inscription master. "Elder sister, what are you doing here? If you want to meet an inscription master, I'm afraid it won't be that easy." Bali Yanche frowned slightly. There were so many people here that it would take a lot of effort just to line up. Moreover, those people who were looking for inscriptions had to explain their requirements in detail, and they couldn't solve any of them in a short period of time. If they were to line up here, They might not even be able to get their turn even after waiting for a few hours. After noticing Bailey Hongzhuang's group, an attendant couldn't help but walk forward. With a single glance, one could tell that these people had extraordinary statuses. However, from their blank expressions, one could tell that it was probably their first time at the Inscription Association. "May I know what the few of you need?" The female attendant's face was filled with a brilliant smile. Where her gaze landed on Di Beichun and Bai Liyan Che, she even revealed a bit of shyness. Such handsome men. After seeing them up close, she was even more moved. Bailey Hongzhuang was a bit surprised. There were so many people in the hall, but there was actually an attendant who took the initiative to ask them. Chapter 53:19. Hello, I have a question to ask Master Guan. At this moment, a young man who was not far from Bailey Hongzhuang asked the attendant. His face was filled with anxiety and nervousness. It was obvious that he wanted to see the inscription master as soon as possible. The one who was stopped by the man was the female attendant who was walking slowly. She was already very depressed when she was one step behind. Now that she was stopped by this guy who was asking her questions, she was even more unhappy. "Do you think it's that easy to see Master Guan?" The woman rolled her eyes and pointed to a place not far away. "Look carefully. How many people in the queue want to see Master Guan? Master Guan doesn't meet people easily. Then can you help me think of a way?" "I can't help you." At this moment, a young man walked over and looked at the person who was talking. "My master is busy studying inscription patterns. He doesn't have time to see people. No matter what urgent matter you have, you can't see my master now." The man who was asking for help was surprised when he saw the young man. "You're Guan Qian, right? That's great. I didn't expect to see you." Guan Qian smiled proudly when he saw that the man knew who he was. "That's right, I am Guan Qian." "Guan Qian, actually I'm also an inscription master. However, I encountered a problem when I was learning inscription patterns. I wanted to ask Master Guan for help, but since Master Guan isn't free, I wonder if Guan Qian can give me some advice." Guan Qian hesitated when he heard that. He also didn't give advice to people casually. Most importantly, his master said that his inscription pattern technique wasn't mature enough and didn't allow him to give advice to people casually. The man saw that Guan Qian didn't speak and thought that he was unwilling. He showed a flattering smile and said, "Guan Qian, you are Master Guan's last disciple. Everyone knows that your inscription pattern technique is high. I hope you can give me some advice. It will be useful for me for the rest of my life." Guan Qian was happy when he heard the man's flattery. He was happy and said, "If you have any questions, just ask." "Young Master Guan, when I draw the explosion inscription pattern, I always fail for some reason. I have tried many times, but I always fail in the end." The man's face was filled with dejection and sadness. "I hope young Master Guan can give me some pointers." "Level 3 explosive inscription?" Guan Qian asked. "That's right. It's a level 3 rune of explosion." "Did you mix the inscription fluid unevenly?" "I've tried many times. I've done every step according to the production method. There shouldn't be any problems." "Tell me in detail about the inscription liquid you made." "I added 10 grams of green flame rock, 3 grams of limestone powder." The man listed the ingredients one by one. His expectant gaze landed on Guan Qian, hoping to get an answer. When Guan Qian heard all this, he frowned. These materials were indeed good, but he couldn't tell where the problem was. "How many explosive inscriptions have you drawn?" The explosive inscription itself was very difficult to draw. If there was even the slightest mistake, it would not succeed. Chapter 53:20. The man's eyes lit up when he heard this. He nodded and said, "That's right. I was a little impatient when I was drawing it." Guan Qian smiled. "It's not easy to draw a level 3 explosion inscription. The failure rate is very high. Go back and try again. It's normal to fail. You must keep a calm mind. As an inscription master, how can we be impatient?" Young Master Guan is right. "Thank you for your advice. I'll go back and try again." The man smiled and cupped his hands. He was extremely grateful for Guan Qian's advice. Go. Guan Qian waved his hand. His young face was filled with pride. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but sigh when she heard the conversation between the two. That works too. Sister, is there a problem with what Guan Qian said? Baisher was undoubtedly very familiar with Bailey Hongzhuang's character. Just by looking at her expression, he could guess that what this guy was saying was complete nonsense. In fact, let alone Bailey Hongzhuang, even Bewitching and the others thought that Guan Qian was talking nonsense. There must be a reason why he couldn't succeed after drawing so many times. Even if his mind wasn't calm enough, it couldn't be the reason that led to so many failures. Guan Qian turned his head with a smile and noticed Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' speechless expressions. A trace of displeasure appeared on his face. "What are you looking at?" Bailey Hongzhuang quietly retracted her gaze. She originally wanted to meet this Master Guan. Since he was called a master, he must be very capable. However, after seeing the standard of this last disciple, she gave up the idea. Just this kind of guidance. Forget about it. "Young master, how can I help?" The female attendant smiled and looked at Bewitching. This man with such an extraordinary temperament was many times better than the guys in the guild. If she could get his favor, she would have a meteoric rise in the future. Bewitching looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. "Why, if you say it?" Hearing this, the smile on the woman's face immediately froze. Her stiff expression was very awkward. "I would like to ask, how can I see the books in the Inscription Association?" Bailey Hongzhuang sized up the surroundings. According to her judgment, the Inscription Association definitely had a lot of books. Originally, she planned to interact with the Inscription Master, but from the lively situation, she knew that it would be difficult to meet the Inscription Master if she didn't put in a lot of effort. Since that was the case, she might as well take a look at the guild's library. That way, she would be able to gain some understanding. Upon hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, the waitress was stunned. "You want to look at our guild's library?" Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. "Not bad." The female attendant's gaze instantly became strange. There were many people who came to the Inscription Association, but this was the first person to make such a request. "Are you a member of our guild?" Guan Qian couldn't help but speak out. His eyes were filled with ridicule. "I don't think you are an Inscription Master. If you want to look at our guild's library, only an Inscription Master can do it. Others can forget about it. If you want to learn the inscription technique by looking at the library, I think you should give up. The inscription technique isn't that easy to learn. It's useless even if you read the books." As an Inscription Master, he had a master to teach him, but he still felt that it was very difficult. Chapter 53:21. As long as I become an Inscription Master, I will be able to read the books here? Bailey Hongzhuang inquired. Up until now, she had learned all her inscription techniques in the Chaos Ring. After coming to the upper realm, she had not met any other inscription masters. Through reading the books, she was able to gain more knowledge and also be clear about her current level. Guan Qian saw that Bailey Hongzhuang did not intend to give up, and his brows were filled with anger and impatience. He wanted to see what this fellow was trying to do. He did not miss the mocking expression on this fellow's face. It was obvious that this fellow was disdainful of his answer. A mere layman who couldn't even acknowledge a master wanted to learn inscription techniques through reading books. This was simply a fool's dream. Don't look at the few fellows in front of him who looked like they had decent statuses. However, Guan Qian had stayed in the Inscription Association for so long and had seen all kinds of people. Just because they looked good on the surface did not mean that their statuses were not ordinary. That's right. As long as you become an Inscription Master, you will be able to read our association's books. Guan Qian raised his eyebrows and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. "Don't tell me you intend to take the inscription test." "Yes." Bailey Hongzhuang replied indifferently. "Let me tell you, if you're not an Inscription Master, you will not be able to enter our library." Guan Qian circled around Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. His face was filled with pride and disdain. "The books in our library are all extremely precious." "Wait, what did you just say?" Guan Qian's gaze froze on Bailey Hongzhuang's face. He had vaguely heard an answer just now. "I said I intend to take the inscription test." Bailey Hongzhuang increased the volume of her voice. No one knew if it was to prevent Guan Qian from not hearing it clearly or to stop Guan Qian from explaining. At this moment, not only Guan Qian, the two attendants by the side were also dumbfounded. What kind of joke was this? She wanted to take the inscription test just to read the books in a library? This test was not something that could be passed easily, unless Bailey Hongzhuang was an inscription master herself. But if she was really an inscription master, how could she not see these books? This didn't make any sense at all. Guan Qian was stunned, and he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Isn't this woman looking down on the inscription master test too much? One had to know that every year, countless people wanted to become an inscription master, and countless inscription apprentices wanted to pass the examination to become a true inscription master. However, the success rate was extremely low. Now, this fellow wasn't even an inscription apprentice, and he wanted to take the inscription master exam. Wasn't this just a fool's dream? It's not that easy to become an inscription master. If you want to try your luck, I think you should just go back. Don't waste our time. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly and felt a little disgusted. The disciple of Master Guan in front of her was really self-righteous. He believed everything without knowing anything. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang turned around and looked at the female attendant on the other side. What are the conditions to take the inscription master examination? The female attendant was slightly stunned. After she came back to her senses, she said, "You only need to pay 10,000 spiritual stones to take the inscription master examination." After hearing the number of spiritual stones, Bailey Yin Che couldn't help but sigh. This is really black-hearted. Participating in an examination actually requires so many spiritual stones. This is to prevent people from making up the numbers and wasting everyone's time. Chapter 53:22. Who did you say was a fake? Bewitching's gaze turned cold. Previously, they couldn't be bothered to argue with Guan Qian. However, not only did this fellow not restrain himself, he even started to climb all over them. I'm talking about Guan Qian rolled his eyes. He originally wanted to point out that the person he was talking about was Bailey Hongzhuang. However, he never thought that he would be so shocked by Bewitching's terrifying gaze that he couldn't bring himself to say the word. What a terrifying gaze. Guan Qian couldn't help but shiver. His sharp gaze was filled with a shocking, murderous intent and shock. He felt that he would be destroyed by this handsome man in the next second. Seeing that Guan Qian had shut his mouth, Bewitching then retracted his gaze. Guan Qian wasn't very old. He was about 18 years old, so they couldn't be bothered to argue with him. I want to sign up for the inscription master's examination. Bailey Hongzhuang took out a chinquan bag and handed it to the female attendant. Here are 10,000 spirit stones. The female attendant took the spirit stones and couldn't help but look at Guan Qian. Young Master Guan, our association is very busy today, so we can't carry out the examination. If you want to take the examination, wait 3 days later. It just so happens that there are a few inscription master's apprentices taking the examination at that time. Guan Qian's expression was filled with fear. Although he was still very displeased, judging from the fact that Bailey Hongzhuang could casually take out 10,000 spirit stones, she probably had a certain background. His master wasn't around today. His master would come out of his closed-door cultivation in 3 days. When that time comes, he would wait to see this fake woman humiliate herself. However, in front of Bewitching, he didn't dare to say anything else. After setting the time, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 3 left first. They would only come back 3 days later to take the examination. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had left, Guan Qian stomped his feet. His face was filled with anger. Isn't she just a fellow who can't find a mentor? She's actually so arrogant. When the time comes, I'll show you how powerful our inscription association is. As the disciple of Master Guan, he had always been sought after by everyone. Today, that damn guy dared to treat him like this. He must investigate the identity of these guys and turn the tables. The 2 female attendants were speechless when they saw that Guan Qian only dared to curse after the other party had left. What was he trying to do behind their backs? If he had the ability, he should have said it earlier. I think that Guan Qian is just a sloppy person. His inscription technique isn't good at all, but his temper is quite bad. Bai Yin-che sneered. That guy actually believed him. We don't know if that guy really believes it or not. Maybe he's just pretending to please Guan Xian, Linger said slowly. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Since Guan Xian is the last disciple of Master Guan, there are naturally many people who beg him. Being able to make him happy with just a few words of flattery is a good deal. I didn't expect that the inscription master examination would take 3 days. It's quite troublesome. Xiao Hei felt helpless. In the past, when Master took the alchemist examination, it was done directly. It's fine. We have to stay here for a while anyway. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Let's go back first. Chapter 53-23. Bailey Hongzhuang is really despicable. Xiao Shou could not help but curse out loud. Whenever she thought of Bailey Hongzhuang, she gnashed her teeth in hatred. If it wasn't for her, Master would not have been scolded by the president. I wonder what kind of punishment she would have received. She had been training with Tong Yunshu since she was young. After all these years, she had already treated her master as her closest kin. If Tong Yunshu had not tried to protect her today, she would not have ended up in such a state. Seeing the anxious Xiao Shou, Jun Lingxuan could not help but say, "Don't worry, the vice president will be fine." Although the previous incident had angered the president is not an unforgiving person. I'm sure he was just saying a few words. Xiao Shou pouted her little mouth and looked at Jun Lingxuan with an aggrieved expression. We must get rid of this Bailey Hongzhuang. She's simply a stumbling block on my path to success. The D family's influence is not small. If we want to deal with them, we'll have to think of a long-term plan. Jun Lingxuan sighed. He also wanted to kill Di Beichun to avenge Shitao. However, with their current strength, it was not enough. Hearing this, Xiao Shou could not help but stomp her feet. The unwillingness on her face became even more intense. Despicable. This is our territory. How can we let them be so arrogant? Don't worry. We still need to find help for this matter. Xiao Shou's eyes lit up. Her originally dejected little face immediately regained its spirit. You mean, we'll find someone to teach them a lesson? With our current strength, if we were to fight with them, it would be hard to say who would have the upper hand. You've seen their battle prowess. It's definitely not simple. However, if we can force Di Beichun to use the skeleton summoning technique here, without waiting for Jun Lingxuan to finish his words, Xiao Shou understood, and a smug smile bloomed on her face. Right now, everyone is still very repulsed by the power of darkness. If Di Beichun uses this method in front of everyone, he will definitely be ostracized. Even though so much time had passed, the scene of Di Beichun summoning skeletons was still vivid in her mind. That kind of scene, as long as one experienced it, would be unforgettable. Jun Lingxuan nodded slightly. That's why we have to plan this carefully. All right. First of all, we have to figure out where they are now and how many members of the D family are here, Jun Lingxuan said in a deep voice. After Bailey Hongzhuang and others left, Guan Xian thought about it and still felt unreconciled. As the last disciple of Master Guan, he was despised like this. He had to figure out who these guys were. Therefore, Guan Xian directly followed them out. When Xiao Shou arrived at the Drunken Cloud residence, she found that Guan Xian was sneakily looking inside. She couldn't help but walk to Guan Xian's side, patted his back, and said, "Guan Xian, what are you doing here?" Being patted by someone, Guan Xian's whole body stiffened. He only felt that his luck couldn't be that bad, right? Not long after he arrived, he was discovered. As soon as he turned his head, Guan Xian found that the one standing next to him was Xiao Shou. He quickly reached out and patted his chest. His whole person was relieved. "Sister Shou, you almost scare me to death," Guan Xian gasped. "You almost scare me to death." Chapter 53-24. I followed a few guys here. Guan Xian lowered his voice with a mysterious look on his face. Xiao Shou frowned. "Why are you following them?" "I met a few strange people in the guild today. They said that they wanted to take the inscription test, and they even dared to laugh at me. I was not convinced, so I followed them to take a look. Guan Xian's young face was filled with depression and unwillingness. He felt that there was nothing wrong with his previous guidance, but a layman actually dared to laugh at him. This made him feel very unhappy. There are actually people who dare to laugh at you? Xiao So was also surprised. Guan Xian was the grandson of Master Guan, who in the Piercing Wind City didn't know him. Usually, everyone would think of ways to please Guan Xian. As for mocking him, it was something that would never happen. Isn't that so? When Guan Xian saw that Xiao So agreed with him, he became even angrier. I don't think she can find a teacher. That's why she wants to learn about inscription techniques through our guild's books. What a joke. As he spoke, Guan Xian looked at Xiao So suspiciously. Sister So, what are you doing here? I'm also here to confirm if the guy I hate is here. Xiao So's gaze sank. After returning, she sent people to inquire about the whereabouts of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. In the end, she found out that they were living in the Drunken Cloud residence. Such a coincidence? Guan Xian was a little surprised. Sister So, who do you hate? Those people from the D family. Xiao So did not hide it. In fact, everyone in the European Union knew about the hostile relationship between them. They only needed to ask a little, and they would know. Guan Xian listened and nodded. Ah, I know, you guys are now opponents. Then do you want to go in now? Guan Xian asked. If you go in, can you help me find out who those guys I hate are? It was his own decision to follow them out. He didn't need any attendance here, and he didn't dare to casually order his family members around. If his grandfather found out about this, he would inevitably be scolded. Xiao So and Guan Xian had known each other for many years, so she naturally understood his situation very well. She immediately nodded and said, "Tell me what those guys you hate look like. I'll help you ask around." Speaking of which, those four fellows are very good-looking. There are 2 men and 2 women, and their clothes are very interesting. One pair of men and women are both wearing white clothes, and the other pair is wearing purple clothes. Don't you think it's very interesting? Guan Xian couldn't help but chuckle. It was hard not to notice such a group walking on the street. However, after hearing Guan Xian's words, Xiao So's gaze became even gloomier. I think I know who you're talking about. She had just met Bailey Hongzhuang and the others in the morning. At that time, they were wearing the same clothes. How did you know just by saying that? Guan Xian was dumbfounded. Because we hate the same people. Xiao So was a little speechless. She didn't expect such a coincidence. But these guys are really quite annoying, especially that Bailey Hongzhuang. Is it that beautiful woman in white? Guan Xian asked. Remove the word beautiful. Xiao So frowned. Why did she feel so unhappy when she heard that word? Oh, is it that woman in white? That's right, it's her. Chapter 53:25. Guan Xian's eyes were full of disgust. Originally, when he felt Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent attitude, he felt very angry. He didn't expect that Sister Sei Wu, who he was familiar with, also hated her so much. It could be seen that there was a problem with her. Who is the person you said was going to take the inscription master examination? Xiao So looked at Guan Xian. She didn't hear that Bewitching and others had the inscription master's talent. It must be known that an inscription master with superb inscription technique was also an extraordinary existence. However, the difficulty of becoming an inscription master was no less than that of an alchemist. In the past, she had also learned inscription technique. However, this aspect was too complicated. She tried to understand it for a while, but finally gave up. Instead of learning those obscure inscription patterns, it was better to put all her energy into cultivation. After all, becoming the Holy Maiden of Light was the most important. At that time, the master she learned from was Guan Xian's father, Master Guan. It was because of this that the two of them met. It's that Bailey Hongzhuang, Guan Xian said. As soon as these words came out, Xiao So couldn't help but be startled. Even Jun Lingxuan, who was beside her, revealed an expression of disbelief. What did you say? Bailey Hongzhuang wants to take the inscription master examination? Guan Xian nodded slightly. Yes, she even paid the examination fee of 10,000 yuan. Xiao So rolled her eyes and couldn't help but ridicule. Does Bailey Hongzhuang really think that she is talented and can do anything? Jun Lingxuan also had a face of disbelief. Previously, when Bailey Hongzhuang showed her innate talent as an alchemist and doctor, they were extremely shocked. It had to be said that from this point of view, Bailey Hongzhuang was indeed very powerful. She did what many people couldn't do. However, in addition, Bailey Hongzhuang actually wanted to become an inscription master. This was really a fantasy. Guan Qian, tell us about the previous matter in detail. Xiao So narrowed her eyes. If she is talking nonsense, we will teach her a lesson. That's great. Seeing that Xiao So was willing to help him vent his anger, Guan Qian revealed an excited smile on his face. Then, he recounted everything that had happened in the Inscription Association. You mean to say that Bailey Hongzhuang wants to take the Inscription Master examination because she wants to see the guild's library? Jun Lingxuan was stunned. Why did he feel that Bailey Hongzhuang's thoughts were so incomprehensible? That's right. Guan Qian nodded. Don't you think this idea is hilarious? Was it really that easy to pass the Inscription Master exam? I feel that she's simply blaspheming the inscription technique. In that case, she has already paid the examination fee and is preparing to take the examination in 3 days. Xiao Sei Wu's eyes flashed with a trace of light. She didn't know how to make Bailey Hongzhuang lose face, but she didn't expect that the opportunity would appear in front of her so quickly. It seems that even the heavens couldn't stand it anymore. That should be the case. Guan Qian was a little hesitant. She has indeed paid the examination fee. However, I don't know if she is deliberately saying this to save her face. Anyway, the D family is rich and imposing. 10,000 spirit stones is nothing to them. Originally, he was very confident that Bailey Hongzhuang would take the examination. However, ever since he found out that she was the young madam of the D family, his thoughts were shaken. Chapter 53:26. Listening to Guan Qian's words, Xiao So chuckled, and her eyes flashed with a sly light. Since he has already paid this fee, we can't let him waste it, right? Guan Qian looked at Xiao So in confusion. Sister So, what do you mean? Doesn't Bailey Hongzhuang like to pretend to be powerful? Then we will help her publicize this matter, so that everyone can see how much ability this talented woman has. Xiao Sou's dark pupils revealed pride and shrewdness. During this time, Bailey Hongzhuang had been in the limelight. In a short period of time, many people thought that she was a character who could stand shoulder to shoulder with her. She didn't want Bailey Hongzhuang to use her as a stepping stone. If she could make Bailey Hongzhuang lose face in front of so many people, then Bailey Hongzhuang would be dreaming if she wanted to be arrogant in front of her in the future. With Xiao Sou's words, Jun Lingxuan and Guan Qian had already understood her meaning, and a conspiratorial smile suddenly appeared on their faces. It seems that we have to help her publicize it. After the three of them made a plan, they didn't continue to stay outside the Drunken Cloud residence, but chose to go to another place to discuss in detail. Hongzhuang, that young man from the Inscription Association, seems to have followed us all the way here. What is he going to do? Ling reminded Bailey Hongzhuang. As a monster, her perception in this regard was also very strong. Although Guan Qian had been maintaining a certain distance, she still felt it clearly. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly stunned, and then she couldn't help but shake her head helplessly. This guy is really vengeful. I just sighed, and I didn't even say what was going on, but he still held a grudge and followed us all the way here. It was precisely because she didn't want to cause trouble that she didn't say what was wrong, but she didn't expect to be remembered. That kid is used to being pursued by others. He is proud and arrogant. How can he stand being wronged? Bali Yin-che was very calm. Should I go and catch that kid and ask him what he wants to do? Well, if he wants to follow, then let him follow. Anyway, it's nothing. Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged and took a sip of tea with her red lips. Her delicate face was calm and indifferent. According to her judgment, this kid couldn't make any big waves. He just followed them here because of a moment of anger. He couldn't find trouble with them alone. He would leave after a while. That's true. It's useless for that kid to come here alone. Bailey Yin-che chuckled. What a brat. At night, Bailey Hongzhuang went to Shi Hongchao's house again. When the two arrived, they found Shi Hongzhuang and find Shi as Wang Zhuangyu. Look at him. Young Master D, young madam. Looking at Deacon Shi's happy face, something good must have happened. Di Beichun joked with a smile. Originally, they came here to ask if Deacon Shi had taken back Xiao Zhongliang's position after he abdicated. However, now they knew the result just by looking at Deacon Shi's expression. Chapter 53:27. We just happened to bump into them today. It's their bad luck. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. They had originally planned to take back the position of the Holy Maiden of Light, and then find a way to help Shi Hongchao regain his position. They didn't expect that Xiao Zhongliang would be kicked out of the position today. It was really an unexpected gain. I've heard about what happened today. Since it happened, almost everyone in the Sacred Assembly has been talking about it. Now Xiao Zhongliang is too ashamed to face everyone. I heard that he has returned to the Xiao family. I'm afraid he won't have a good time after returning. Speaking of which, I really have to thank the two of you for helping me vent my anger. Xiao Zhongliang shot himself in the foot today. But with Xiao Sou's temper, I'm afraid it won't be easy for Xiao Zhongliang to stay in the Xiao family in the future. After today's incident, Bailey Hongzhuang also understood the extent of Xiao Sou's resentment towards her. Xiao Zhongliang made her lose face in front of her. Xiao Sou would definitely not let him go. By the way, did President Liu punish the vice president after returning? Di Beichun slowly said, his right hand rubbing the teacup. His long eyelashes fluttered, blocking the pair of charming eyes, making people unable to see clearly. As soon as President Liu returned, he directly called the vice president into the room. We could vaguely hear some reprimanding, but we don't know how he was punished. I heard that the vice president's face was very ugly when he came out. What about Xiao Sou? President Liu didn't say much about Xiao Sou. After all, this matter can be said to be a matter of the Sacred Assembly, but it can also be said to be a matter of the Xiao family. It's because of this angle that President Liu didn't say much. Shi Hongchao smiled. After this incident, I think the vice president's influence in the Sacred Assembly will be greatly reduced. Since Deacon Shi has returned to this position, it will be more convenient for you to do other things. Di Beichun said lightly. Of course. Young Master D, don't worry. There won't be any problems when the time comes. If that's the case, then we won't stay any longer. We should reduce our contact with each other for a while to avoid being discovered by others. Yes. The next day, a piece of news quickly spread throughout the Piercing Wind City. Have you heard? The young mistress of the D family is going to take the inscription master examination. Isn't Bailey Hongzhuang an alchemist and a doctor? Why do you want to take the inscription test now? This news came from the Inscription Association. It's 100% true. This is simply too fierce. It's already amazing for a normal person to be able to learn a single one. But not only did she learn two, but there's also a third, Lin Ming said. For a moment, everyone was amazed by Bailey Hongzhuang's energy and strength. If it were an ordinary person, it would be impossible for them to do so at the same time. As the news spread more and more widely, everyone began to believe that Bailey Hongzhuang was a very powerful inscription master. Of course, there were also many people who were disdainful and thought that it was just a claptrap and not to be taken seriously. Ling Sun, I've sent people out early this morning to spread the news. Now, the news is spread throughout the streets of the Piercing Wind City. Chapter 53:28. Jun Lingxuan asked with a faint smile, I believe that they will be very surprised after hearing this news. Now that they are riding a tiger, they have no choice but to take part in the assessment. That's natural. Xiao Sou's face was filled with pride as her eyes twinkled with joy. Not only that, I have also specially prepared a big gift for them. What gift? The Alchemist Guild's president Liu Yuhai has a very good relationship with Master Guan. I heard that President Liu will be meeting Master Guan today, so I specially asked Guan Qian to say a few words in front of them. Bailey Hongzhuang is a deacon of the Alchemist Guild, and President Liu values her greatly. I believe that after hearing this news, he'll be very happy to see Bailey Hongzhuang take the assessment. Xiao So raised her eyebrows. Don't you think that it will be very interesting? I wonder how President Liu will react when he sees his own guild's deacon being humiliated like this. Jun Lingxuan was stunned at first, but after understanding, his face revealed a sinister smile. Then the situation will be very interesting. Bailey Hongzhuang was originally peacefully cultivating when she suddenly heard a knock on the door. Only then did she exit her cultivation state with some doubts in her heart. Who will be looking for us at this time? Could it be Jiang Wenyan? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Bewitching. The few of them did not go out. Other than him, I'm afraid that there is no one else. Bewitching took the lead to open the door. As expected, the moment he opened the door, he saw Jiang Wenyan standing outside with an anxious expression. The two of you are still so calm? What happened? Bewitching's brows wrinkled slightly, his handsome and unparalleled face filled with a trace of dignity. Now the entire Piercing Wind City is spreading the news about you guys. I heard that Hongzhuang is going to take the Inscription Master assessment. How did you know? Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised. Other than them and the attendant of the Inscription Association, no one else knew about this news. I don't know who leaked the news, but now everyone is talking about this matter. Everyone is saying that you are a first-class genius who is good at all kinds of occupations. Jiang Wenyan walked into the house with a worried look on his face. But I think this is overpraising him. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Lin Yiqian immediately understood. Are the rumors exaggerated? Bewitching asked in a deep voice. It's very exaggerated, almost praising Hongzhuang as if she is the best in the world. Jiang Wenyan nodded. If she can't pass the inscriptionist examination this time, then I'm afraid Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching looked at each other. They were familiar with this kind of flattery. The higher he raised her now, the worse she would fall when the time came. Could it be that Guan Qian did it? Xiao He stomped her feet in anger. That guy is too despicable. We didn't even do anything yesterday. Is there a need for this? Bewitching shook his head slightly. With that guy's temperament, I'm afraid he won't do something as complicated as overpraising. That's strange. Other than him, there is no one else. Xiaobai knocked on her head, completely unable to understand. However, at this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two said in unison, Xiao So. The three of them looked at each other. Other than him, there was no one else who would do this. Xiao So has really put in a lot of effort to deal with me. Chapter 53:29. Now all the streets and alleys are spreading this news. It must be Xiao Sou's special instructions. Under their exaggeration, this news is getting more and more exaggerated. It's simply amazing. Jiang Wenyan's jade-like face was full of worry. The news is getting more and more intense. When the Inscription Master examination begins, it will have spread to the ears of all forces. At that time, with Xiao Sou's temper, I'm afraid that she will try her best to make this examination be carried out in front of everyone. Bewitching slightly frowned. His pair of black eyes that were brighter than the stars in the dark night revealed a trace of heaviness and complexity. According to the situation that Jiang Wenyan said, he could almost conclude that Xiao So would absolutely not just do this. She did this to make Bailey Hongzhuang lose face. Since she wanted to lose face, she naturally had to do it in front of everyone to maximize the effect. Hearing this, Jiang Wenyan's pupils shrank, and his worry became even more intense. In this way, won't this Inscription Master examination become a Hongmen banquet? Forget it. Since Xiao So painstakingly prepared for me, if I don't accept her kindness, won't I disappoint her too much? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes revealed a terrifying self-confidence, and a sharp light flashed with extreme arrogance. Noticing Bailey Hongzhuang's expression, Jiang Wenyan suddenly realized that the beautiful woman in front of him, who didn't seem like an ordinary person, also had such a domineering side. The original worry seemed to have quietly dissipated a little. The previously difficult to deal with flattery also became easy to break. Do you really want to participate in the inscription master examination? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded lightly. Since I've signed up, I naturally have to participate. Otherwise, wouldn't I have wasted 10,000 spirit stones in vain? The reason for participating was that she didn't want to waste 10,000 spirit stones? Jiang Wenyan's lips twitched. Why did he feel that it was so unbelievable to hear from a 9th-level alchemist that she couldn't waste 10,000 spirit stones? I finally understand. You guys are determined to succeed in this matter. Jiang Wenyan looked at the two people who were calm and collected. He immediately understood that he had been worried for nothing. Bewitching and Li Du already had a plan in mind. However, he still found it hard to believe that Bailey Hongzhuang was an inscription master. Brother Jiang, thank you so much for coming all the way here just for us. Bewitching poured a cup of tea and handed it to Jiang Wenyan. Have some tea. Just wait for the show in 2 days. I do need some tea to calm my nerves. Jiang Wenyan drained the tea in one gulp and stared at Bailey Hongzhuang with his clear eyes that were as gentle as the sea. He asked with some confusion and surprise, Miss Bailey, I'm really curious as to how you managed to master so many professional skills. By his side, there were many powerful cultivators. But apart from Bailey Hongzhuang, there was no one else who had so many talents gathered in one body. I'm just interested. If you're willing to spend more time, I'm sure you can too. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Her indifferent appearance seemed to be saying that as long as you're willing, you can even eat a few bowls of rice. Of course, Jiang Wenyan wouldn't believe such words. To master a profession, not only does it require time, it also requires talent. Most importantly, a person's energy is limited. It's impossible to take care of everything. Chapter 53:30. After Xiao Shou had released the news, she ate her snacks and drank her tea proudly. She did not seem to be in a bad mood after being taught a lesson yesterday. It was only when she saw one of her subordinates return that her eyes lit up. She put the snacks back and looked at the person in high spirits. How was it? Did you notice any movements from Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest? Reporting to young miss, your guess is right. Jiang Wenyan rushed to the Drunken Cloud residence early in the morning and did not come out after entering Bewitching's room. Oh, Xiao Shou's brows slowly rose. They didn't do anything else? No. In this situation, it's impossible for them to turn the situation around. Even if they are in the room trying to think of a way, it's useless. Based on their standards, how can they fight with you? The man's face was full of flattery, and he did not hold back when he belittled Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest. However, Xiao Shou was obviously pleased with his words. She was already in a good mood, and now she was in an even better mood. She immediately threw a money bag to the man. This is your reward. Continue to keep an eye on them, and don't let them have the chance to escape. The man received the money bag in surprise. Just by feeling the weight of the bag, he knew that the spirit stones here were enough for him to cultivate for a while. His eyes were filled with gratitude as he said, Thank you, young miss. I will definitely keep an eye on them. In the blink of an eye, the day of the inscription master's assessment had arrived. On this day, the entire Piercing Wind City was bustling with noise and excitement. Almost all the pedestrians on the bustling streets were discussing this matter. Today is the day of the Inscription Masters Association's assessment. I wonder if Bailey Hongzhuang will really go for the assessment? Of course, this news is spread like wildfire. If she doesn't go, wouldn't it be terrible? Furthermore, this is a good opportunity to prove her ability. You're really naive. With one look, you can tell that this news was not spread by Bailey Hongzhuang. It was spread by someone who wanted to mess with her. Among the cultivators, there were many people with discerning eyes. They only needed to think for a moment to know who was the initiator of this matter. As long as she was not an idiot, Bailey Hongzhuang would not do such a thing. Bailey Hongzhuang walked on the wide street and listened to the discussions in front of her. Her clear black eyes flashed with a trace of gratification. It seems that everyone is not stupid. You've all seen through the entire matter. Jiang Wenyin looked at the relaxed Bailey Hongzhuang and couldn't help but remind her, after you go there, Xiaosu might have other plans to deal with you. You have to be mentally prepared. I know. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Her already exquisite face became even more beautiful under the sunlight. Her fair skin was so delicate that it looked like it could be broken by the wind. No matter what she does, I'll take it. When they arrived at the Inscription Association, they noticed that the entire association was extremely lively. The degree of crowding was even more exaggerated than when they first arrived. It was to the extent that the entrance of the association was already packed to the point that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Obviously, the purpose of everyone's trip was to watch a good show. Bailey Hongzhuang is here. I don't know who shouted in the crowd, but suddenly the entrance of the Inscription Association was blocked, and in the blink of an eye, a path was opened for Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to walk together. Chapter 53:31. Bailey Hongzhuang, you're finally here. Xiaosuo looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with sparkling eyes. She lifted her chin slightly, revealing a sense of ridicule and complacency. Oh, isn't this the Saint of Light? Logically speaking, you should be very busy. Why are you so leisurely all day long? Why can I see you everywhere? Bailey Hongzhuang pretended to be surprised as she looked at Xiaosuo. Her delicate face had an elegant smile, as usual. Don't be so sarcastic. Xiaosuo's eyes were cold. She didn't know why, but Bailey Hongzhuang always had the ability to make her angry. I'm just worried about you. That's why I came to see your assessment today. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. Her dark eyes were filled with ridicule and playfulness. I didn't expect you to be so concerned about me. Xiaosuo glared at Bailey Hongzhuang. She didn't know what to say. Coincidentally, there was a commotion behind her. She quickly turned her head. In her line of sight, Master Guan of the Inscription Association and the president of the Alchemist Association, Lu Yuhai, walked out together. Looking at the lively scene outside, their eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. I didn't expect that today's Inscription Master assessment would attract so much attention. Guan Jingshan couldn't help but sigh. Even if there were many forces heading to the Piercing Wind City recently, the Inscription Association shouldn't have attracted so much attention. Looking at Guan Jingshan's puzzled expression, Lu Yuhai couldn't help but chuckle. Today, everyone is here for Bailey Hongzhuang. After saying that, Lu Yuhai's gaze also fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. Greetings, President Lu. Bailey Hongzhuang respectfully bowed. Towards this highly respected president, her heart was still filled with deep respect. We haven't seen each other for a long time since we parted in Qishui City. Lu Yuhai smiled as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. I didn't know that you had a talent in inscription. Guild leader Lu, you must be joking. I only know a little about it. You were originally a genius alchemist. Being able to grasp a bit of the surface in other aspects is already something that others cannot compare to. Lu Yuhai turned to look at Guan Jingshan and said, Master Guan, let me introduce you. This is the young madam of the D family. She's also an excellent deacon of the Alchemist Guild. She's a rare, genius alchemist. Lu Yuhai obviously admired Bailey Hongzhuang very much. The moment he opened his mouth, all he said were good things about her. Greetings, Master Guan. Hearing this introduction, Guan Jingshan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a hint of surprise in his eyes. I didn't expect Miss Bailey to be so talented. She is really outstanding. While Guan Jingshan was sizing her up, Bailey Hongzhuang was also sizing her up. Even though this was the first time they had met, there was no doubt that this person was Guan Qian's master. She originally thought that Guan Jingshan was also aware of this scheme. However, looking at the current situation, it seemed that Guan Jingshan was also kept in the dark. Master, there are so many people here today to watch Miss Bailey's inscription test. It wouldn't be good if everyone returned disappointed. In addition, there are many inscription masters participating in the test. Thus, I arranged for today's test to be held in the open. What do you think? Guan Qian spoke up at the right time. His grandfather had always been infatuated with inscription techniques. He didn't care about other things. Chapter 53:32. As Guan Jingshan listened to Guan Qian's proposal, he couldn't help but frown. Usually, this assessment was held in the inner sanctum, and outsiders simply couldn't see it. Today's lively scene made him feel that something was wrong. In addition to his understanding of his grandson, he was afraid that there really was something fishy going on. Feeling Guan Jingshan's gaze that seemed to see through everything, Guan Qian couldn't help but lower his head. He secretly cursed in his heart. I shouldn't have revealed any flaws. How come grandfather seems to have seen through everything? As Xiao Shou saw this, she quickly said, the Inscription Association has always been mysterious to everyone. Since everyone wants to see it this time, why don't we do it in the open? I believe that no one will object. The crowd suddenly burst into cheers. As the saying goes, one doesn't mind watching a good show. They didn't want to miss out on such an opportunity. Most importantly, they also wanted to know if Bailey Hongzhuang really had the ability to do this. If she did, then Bailey Hongzhuang's talent was simply too amazing. If she didn't, then how Bailey Hongzhuang would step down today would be an interesting question. No matter from which angle, this was a good show. Guan Jingshan looked at the situation around him. Although he expected that something was wrong, he didn't know what the problem was at the moment. Jun Lingxuan immediately said, Grandmaster, look at these inscription apprentices who are about to take the assessment. They all agree. Guan Jingshan turned to look. Sure enough, the apprentices who were waiting for the assessment all nodded. They didn't seem to have any objections. Only Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. Xiao Shou also noticed Bailey Hongzhuang's awkward expression. Suddenly, the light in her eyes became brighter and brighter. She immediately said, Bailey Hongzhuang, you don't dare to do it, do you? As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang, full of curiosity. What does it have to do with you, whether I dare or not? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows, and the corners of her lips pulled up in a devilish smile. Against her stunning face, there was an indescribable seductive charm. In an instant, her beauty was limitless. Looking at such a Bailey Hongzhuang, the eyes of the men couldn't help but brighten. Such a woman was really a stunner. If it weren't for Di Beichen's unshakable status and the fact that he was always by Bailey Hongzhuang's side, he really couldn't control his heart's desire. Facing such a Bailey Hongzhuang, Xiao Se-Wu was also stunned for a moment, and her bright eyes could not help but flash with a trace of jealousy and resentment. It was this damned woman in front of her who had stolen all of her glory. You praises, S is right. ISNTS is it to let everyone see your ability? TSSS. Now that everyone is here, you should be the most satisfied. Why do you have to be so secretive? Xiao Shou snorted disdainfully, her eyes full of ridicule. I praise myself? Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. Miss Xiao, when you do things, you should at least use your brain. In the end, who did this? Everyone knows in their hearts. I don't know what you're talking about. Xiao Shou's expression was calm, as if she didn't understand at all. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Shou's tit for tat, Guan Jingshan and Liu Yuhai couldn't help but look at each other. In their minds, they had some understanding of this matter. Chapter 53:33. Liu Yuhai was a smart person. Back in Qishui City, he already knew that Xiao Shou and Bailey Hongzhuang were not on good terms. It seemed that Xiao Shou had deliberately set up a trap for Bailey Hongzhuang. When he first heard the news, he felt that it was very strange. According to his understanding, Bailey Hongzhuang was not a high-profile person. Even when she revealed her talent in alchemy, she did not have the slightest bit of arrogance. On the contrary, she was very humble. As the president, he had seen all kinds of people. Just from her behavior at that time, he could determine Bailey Hongzhuang's temperament. However, now that he knew that Xiao Shou was behind this, everything could be explained. President Liu, what do you think about this? Guan Jingshan looked at Liu Yuhai. Now that almost everyone was here for this matter, it was not impossible for him to force the test to be carried out internally. However, it would attract a lot of criticism. However, Bailey Hongzhuang was not only the young madam of the D family, she was also a deacon of the Alchemist Guild. Naturally, he had to ask for Lu Yuhai's opinion. This matter was clearly a trap set up by Xiao Sou and Guan Qian. If Bailey Hongzhuang lost face, then Lu Yuhai would naturally lose face as well. Hearing this, Lu Yuhai originally wanted to force the test to be carried out internally. However, when he saw Di Beichen's calm appearance from the corner of his eyes, he changed his mind. Di Beichen was famous for being protective of his wife. If this matter really affected Bailey Hongzhuang, then no matter what, Di Beichen would have already stepped out to stop it. Now that he did not say anything, it was obvious that he had come prepared. When Xiao Sou saw that Guan Jingshan had actually asked Lu Yuhai about it, she could not help but feel anxious. Master Guan, we have already prepared everything. Let's just carry it out like this. Bailey Hongzhuang, if you have the ability, then go ahead with the assessment. If you don't, then just admit it. Xiao Sou narrowed her eyes and tried to goad her. She had to carry out this plan today. She wanted to see how Bailey Hongzhuang would respond. Looking at Xiao Sou's anxious and helpless appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled, and her smile became more charming and enchanting. Since Miss Xiao wants to see me take the test so much, then I'll fulfill your wish. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiao Sou couldn't help but be stunned. She stared at Bailey Hongzhuang, wondering if she had heard wrongly. Bailey Hongzhuang actually agreed? Not to mention Xiao Sou. Even Guan Qian was confused. He felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was really strange and did not play by the rules at all. On the contrary, Lu Yuhai revealed a meaningful smile after hearing this answer. His judgment was right. Bailey Hongzhuang had come prepared. Since that's the case, then today's assessment will be carried out in the open. Guan Jingshan breathed a sigh of relief. He did not want to make his good friend unhappy. The original situation was really a little difficult for him, but now that Bailey Hongzhuang had agreed, it was easier for him to make a decision. For a moment, everyone turned to the venue of the assessment, and the discussions and suspicions became more and more intense. I don't know if Bailey Hongzhuang really has this ability. Looking at her expression, it doesn't seem like she doesn't have any real ability. I don't know. Maybe she just doesn't want to lose her momentum in front of Xiao Sou. Chapter 53-34. When the D family arrived at the Piercing Wind City, they realized that there were only a few pedestrians on the streets. It was not as lively as they had expected, and everyone was puzzled. It's almost time for the inauguration ceremony of the Holy Maiden of Light. Logically speaking, the entire Piercing Wind City should be packed with people. Why are there so few people here? Dijai's face was filled with doubt. Usually, when there was a lively event, it would be extremely lively. Today's scene is indeed a little strange. Di Xiaofeng frowned slightly. Even the usual Piercing Wind City is more lively than it is now. Could it be that something has happened that we don't know about? Bailey Yunyan guessed. Just as everyone was walking towards their destination with doubts in their hearts, many passers-by saw them, and their eyes were filled with curiosity. Look, the D family is here. Did they know that Bailey Hongzhuang is going to take the Inscription Master assessment today, so they specially rushed over? It should be, otherwise it wouldn't be, such a coincidence. Maybe they're worried that Bailey Hongzhuang will be embarrassed, so they specially rushed over to save the day. Di Xiaofeng had already felt that something was amiss, and when he heard Bailey Hongzhuang's name being mentioned, he immediately called out to the man. What did you just say? Say it again. The man who was called out to looked at Di Xiaofeng's gloomy expression, and his face turned pale. He quickly waved his hand and said, No, nothing. Cut the crap. I heard you say something about an assessment. Di Xiaofeng stared at the man. Tell me everything. Seeing this, the man did not dare to hide anything and immediately told Di Xiaofeng everything that he knew. After hearing everything, Di Xiaofeng's gloomy expression became even more gloomy. He did not expect that Hong Zhuang and the rest had only arrived at the piercing wind city for a short while, and this Xiao So had already thought of ways to set such a big trap for them. Damn it, Jai's cursed. The more I look at this Xiao So, the more I find her to be an eyesore. I have never heard of Hong Zhuang having a talent in inscription, and this news has spread like wildfire. In the piercing wind city, only the Xiao family can achieve this in such a short period of time. Di Xiaofeng could not help but look at Di Yujue. His slightly cold jade face was filled with seriousness and worry. Father, we should also go and take a look. We can't just watch Hong Zhuang get tricked by Xiao So just like this. Dai Heoen, come, let's go and take a look. Di Yujue made his decision with a wave of his hand. His handsome face that was like jade carried a trace of coldness. Adding on the powerful aura that he unconsciously emitted, it caused the pedestrians on the street to involuntarily retreat when they saw this, as they were afraid of angering him. Mo Yunjue and the other three were also in the group. After hearing this news, their feelings were extremely complicated. I think the Xiao So is really too much. She can even think of such a method. Shangguan Yingying secretly spat as her clear eyes were filled with disgust. I really want to see how she will stop. Chapter 53-35. Hearing Xiren's words, Shangguan Yingying was slightly stunned. Previously, she had been thinking that this was Xiao So's trap, and had forgotten about this. Thinking about it carefully, Hong Zhuang did seem to know the inscription technique. Really? A.O. Lingxiao's face was originally filled with indignation, but when he heard Xiren's words, he could not help but be stunned. Hong Zhuang knows the inscription technique? Why didn't I know about this? There are many things that you don't know. Shangguan Yingying said calmly. Hong Zhuang is not someone who likes to show off. There are many things that you wouldn't know if you didn't meet her. Mo Yunjue's magnetic and cold voice rang out. Compared to Xiren's uncertainty, his voice was filled with certainty. Hong Zhuang does know the inscription technique. Hearing Mo Yunjue's words, Xiren and the rest were relieved. They knew how much Mo Yunjue cared about Bailey Hong Zhuang. Since he said so, it proved that this matter was definitely not wrong. Since Hong Zhuang does have the inscription technique talent, then what about today's trap? Shangguan Yingying raised her eyebrows. Why couldn't she understand it all of a sudden? Don't be impatient. We will know when we see it. Mo Yunjue was rather calm. Facing Xiren and the rest puzzled gazes, he explained, Hong Zhuang and Di Bewitching are not people who are easily tricked. Shangguan Yingying and the rest nodded their heads secretly. They absolutely agreed with this point. Whether it was Bailey Hong Zhuang or Di Beichun, they were all extremely intelligent. Jun Lingxuan and Xiao So had long been thinking of ways to scheme against them. However, in the end, they fell into their hands after confirming that the inscription assessment would be held in public. Bailey Hong Zhuang and the rest followed the large group to the open-air plaza of the Piercing Wind City. This open-air plaza was specially designed for public competitions or assessments. In the center was a circular platform, and the seats around it were arranged in a stair-like manner, forming a circle that surrounded the central platform. This ensured that everyone sitting on the high platform could clearly see the situation on the high platform. The Piercing Wind City was a humongous city, and this open-air plaza was equally extravagant. At a glance, it wouldn't be a problem to accommodate hundreds of thousands of people. Guan Jingshan and Liu Yuhai led the inscriptionist apprentices who were participating in today's assessment to the most important high platform. The various powers who came to watch the show all sat down around the platform. The scale of this open-air plaza was extremely large, but it could not hold the crowd. Within a short period of time, the entire plaza was filled to the brim. Almost everyone in the Piercing Wind City was attracted to this place. Today, as per everyone's request, the Inscription Association's assessment will be held here. During the assessment, I hope that everyone can remain quiet. Inscription drawing is an extremely meticulous task, and the slightest disturbance could lead to failure. This is also the reason why our association's assessment has always been held internally. Guan Jingshan looked at the many cultivators nearby, and his calm and deep voice was clearly transmitted to everyone's ears with the support of his elemental energy. Due to the unprecedented scale of this assessment, we have specially arranged for many inscriptionists to take part in the assessment today. Chapter 5336. This was also the decision Guan Jingshan made after understanding the situation today. It was rare to have such a lively scene, and it was not a bad idea to let the inscription masters of the guild experience it together. Of course, there was another reason for him to do this, and that was to take care of Bailey Hongzhuang. Although he was not sure what happened between Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao So, he knew that Bailey Hongzhuang's inscription technique was not up to standard. That was why Xiao So planned to humiliate him in front of everyone. Bailey Hongzhuang agreed to take the assessment in this open field, and it undoubtedly eased his difficulties. As an elder, he naturally could not let the younger generation take care of him. Moreover, this matter was related to his grandson. He gathered so many inscription masters to take the assessment together, and he knew that the failure rate would not be low. In this way, even if Bailey Hongzhuang failed, she would not be embarrassed. Bailey Hongzhuang was a little surprised after hearing Guan Jingshan's introduction. After noticing Guan Jingshan's kind eyes, she suddenly had some understanding in her heart. Originally, when she saw Guan Qian's vengeful appearance, she thought that Guan Jingshan was also such a person. However, it seemed that she had misunderstood. At least this Master Guan was magnanimous and did not help Guan Qian to deal with her. Instead, he took care of her. Compared to Bailey Hongzhuang's happiness, Xiao So could not help but frown. Her elegant face was full of dissatisfaction, but she did not show it. Guan Qian, what's wrong with your grandfather? Why is he helping Bailey Hongzhuang? Xiao So turned her head to look at Guan Qian. Her dark eyes were filled with confusion and depression. The reason why they set up such a big scene was to put Bailey Hongzhuang on the spot. Now, Master Guan actually took the initiative to give Bailey Hongzhuang a way out. Guan Qian was slightly stunned, and his expression was a little awkward. He did not dare to look into his grandfather's eyes. He was afraid that he would be reprimanded when he went back today. Grandpa probably knew that we were behind this, so he did this. Guan Qian lowered his head. He knew his grandfather too well. Although Guan Jingshan had always put all his attention on inscription technique, he had always been fair and could not stand this kind of thing. It was precisely because of this that he did not dare to be too presumptuous on weekdays. This time, in fact, he was originally a bit entangled, but it happened that Xiao Se Wu also wanted to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang, so he helped a bit. However, from his grandfather's attitude, he was afraid that, looking at Guan Qian's worried look, Xiao So's eyes revealed a trace of disdain. This guy still hadn't really grown up yet. He couldn't even handle her grandfather. What else could he do? Because there were suddenly a lot of inscriptionists coming to take the test, they still needed some time to prepare, so everyone waited patiently. During this process, the Xiao family's patriarch, Xiao Yanlong, and the Jun family's patriarch, Jun Hongcheng, both arrived at the open-air plaza. Seeing the appearance of these two people, everyone looked sideways. I didn't expect that even these two patriarchs would come. It seems that today's matter will cause a stir. Although I already knew that both sides were connected by marriage, it seems that their relationship is not ordinary. That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.